Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Dear students, in the preceding lecture, I introduced the concept of public goods and public bads, and also explained you the main characteristics of public goods and public bads. In this lecture, you will study about the optimum provision of public goods and bads. There are two kinds of provisions. One is optimum provision and other is the market provision. And here, using the rival and non-rival environmental products, you will be able to know the market demand and supply curve of these two kinds of products. And at the point where supply curve for non-rival and rival products intersect their demand curves, equilibrium level of price is determined. So, as far as supply curve is concerned, that supply curve is similar because both rival and non-rival products are rival in production, although they are non-rival in consumption. And by using the indifference curve, I will explain you that how the market provision is different from efficient provision of public goods. Let me now discuss optimum provision of public goods and bads. How much of public goods or bads should be provided? So, in fact, in case of private goods, our response is that we should provide the public goods, private goods at the point where marginal cost of production is equal to the price and supply is equal to demand at that price. So, this is very important point that in case of private products, marginal cost should be equal to the price of the product and supply and demand should intersect each others and equilibrium level of price may be determined, and the market can provide private goods at that point. So, in case of rival product, market demand can be estimated by horizontal summation of individual customers' demand. If a good is non-rival, then we can proceed differently. We are interested in the total marginal willingness to pay. This is marginal willingness to pay for a specific amount of non-rival product. The good is produced in the same way whether or not it is rival in consumption. Thus, the same supply or marginal cost curve applies to its production, because all goods are rival in production. So, this is very important. Let me again explain. There are two types of goods. One is rival product. So, in case of rival product, if we wanted to estimate the demand for rival product, the demand can be estimated by making the sum of all individual customers' demand, and sum is made horizontally. So, the market demand is the horizontal summation of individual customers' demand, while in case of non-rival products we have to proceed differently, because here the quantity is not fixed. For example, visiting a park, how much you are consuming the park quantity cannot be determined, but you can make different visit of the park. So, how much you are willing to pay for the first visit of the park, how much you are willing to pay for the second visit of the park. For instance, if one person is willing to pay 10 rupees for one visit of the park, other is willing to pay 20 rupees for one visit of the park. So, in that case the demand will be estimated in terms of how much they are willing to pay. So, 10 plus 20 equal to 30. So, first visit of the park 30 rupees are willing to be paid by the two customers. So, in this way we can estimate the demand curve for non-rival product. So, let me now simply discuss you how to draw the demand curve. Suppose we have price is taken on y axis and q quantity is taken on x axis, and if we take a demand for a person, this demand curve shows the inverse relationship between the price of the product and quantity demanded. Higher the market price, lower will be the demand for the product. So, this is the demand for a person. Now, B person may have different demand. Take the demand curve for price of the product, and demand curve may be like this, which is more steeper than. So, this is a demand curve for B person, demand curve for B person D. Now, if you take a particular price, say if price is OP 1, then quantity demanded is QA and QB. So, now you can see the demand for A is having different elasticity and demand for B is having different elasticity. Now, if you wanted to make horizontal summation, then in that case market demand is market demand is equal to OQA plus OQB. So, this is the demand made by the A person plus demand made by the B person at the given market price, and that will be here. So, in this way you can see this is our market demand curve MD. So, market demand is horizontal summation and this is market demand QM, and QM is equal to OQA plus OQB. Now, if market price goes down, then quantity demanded will increase. If price is OP2, quantity demanded is OQA1 and quantity demanded in this case will be OQB1, and then market demand will be P2 QM1. So, this is called horizontal summation of market. Horizontal summation of individual demand constitute the market demand. So, market demand can easily be estimated if we can make sum of individual demand at different market prices. So, obviously, the slope of the market demand would be different from the slope of the individual demand, because different customers demand differently to or they respond differently to the change in the price of the product. Okay. So, as far as this is the case of rival product, rival. Now, if you take the non-rival product, then demand will be different. For instance, the demand will be estimated vertically, not horizontally, and in that case suppose we have, again this is the demand curve of a person, demand of a person, we have the demand for B person, and price is taken, or in place of price we are taking marginal willingness to pay, marginal willingness to pay, marginal willingness to pay. So, marginal willingness to pay and price both are the same things. Suppose for one, if this is the demand for park visit, demand for park visit. So, if a consumer make one visit of the park and is willing to pay this OP price, for the same visit B is willing to pay PA, PB price, then market demand will be added horizontally, and if another visit is made, second visit, then you can see PA1, PB1. So, now this is another price. So, in that case what you have to do is visit 1, visit 2. So, park visit is taken here, park visit, and marginal willingness to pay, marginal willingness to pay are taken on y axis. So, you can estimate the market demand for visit of the park by adding vertically the demands. For example, one visit of park, say consumer A is willing to pay say rupees 7 and consumer B is willing to pay rupees 5, then rupees 7 plus rupees 5 equal to rupees 12. So, rupees 12 is first visit, then second visit, this is the first visit. In case of second visit, consumer A is willing to pay 5 rupees and consumer B is willing to pay say 3 rupees, then 3 plus 5 equal to 8 rupees. So, 8 rupees is the total. So, now you can see here, this is one point, say 12 rupees, then second point 8 rupees, 8 rupees. So, if you draw the curve, then it will be called a demand curve where 8 rupees and 12 rupees for first visit and second visit. So, this is the market demand for non-rival product, non-rival product. So, you can easily estimate the market demand for rival and non-rival products. So, after understanding this concept, now let me tell you from this graph. In this graph, I have explained the demand for rival and non-rival products. So, now in this graph there are 4 panels. You can see A panel, B panel, C panel and D panel. Exactly these are the same things which I discussed earlier. Now, there are 2 customers, consumers, one is say Brewster and other is the Annas. This is the supply, this is the demand curve of first consumer and other is the demand curve for second consumers. And now, if you look at market price P, when market price is 5, the both at 5 the quantity is 0, but as the market price increases, market price declines, and it is, suppose this is the market price, then this is the quantity, this is the quantity demanded by first customer, and at the same price there is no quantity demanded by, you can see first at this point quantity demanded is, say horizontally you can add, and as you can see when market price is 2 point something, quantity demanded is 5, when market price is 1, quantity demanded increases. So, by adding horizontally you can get this market demand curve. So, this is the market demand curve, which is the horizontal summation of individual customer demand curve, and there are only two customer A and B, and we make horizontal summation of the demand curve of the two customers to get the aggregate demand curve. So, here A panel indicates the individual demands of the two customers, B indicate aggregate demand or market demand, which is estimated by adding the individual demand curve at different market prices. Here QR is the quantity demanded for rival product, R stand for rival, and QR is rival product and QN is the non-rival. So, we have the two kinds of products, rival product and non-rival products, and market demand for rival product is shown by panel B, where horizontal summation is made, while non-rival demand is estimated by vertically summing, like this marginal willingness to pay, which I already discussed. For example, if customer A is willing to pay 5 rupees for a particular unit and customer B is willing to pay say 4 rupees, then 5 plus 4 equal to 9. 9 will be the total marginal willingness to pay for the particular unit. Similarly, if the quantity is increased from say 5 to 10, how much the customer A is willing to pay and how much customer B is willing to pay for the same quantity. So, sum total of that is called aggregate market demand for non-rival product. But one important thing here is that whether the product is rival or non-rival, they are produced with the resources which are having opportunity cost or they are actually rival. So, all products are rival in production because resources involved in the production of rival or non-rival products are having competitive uses and they have opportunity cost. So, that is why they face the same supply curve or they face the same marginal cost curve. So, marginal cost curve is also known as supply curve. So, this is the marginal cost curve which is same for both rival demand product and non-rival product. So, here you see in this graph, this is the demand for non-rival product and then demand for rival products, and equilibrium price is determined at the point where the supply curve is intersecting the demand curve of both the product rival and non-rival product, and here you can see that this dotted line is the demand curve for the non-rival product rival product, and that is intersecting the supply curve, and at this intersection point Qn is the demand for non-rival product and Qr is the demand for rival product. So, when the supply curve is intersecting the non-rival demand curve at a particular point, at that point market demand is determined. For rival product it is QR, and for non-rival product it is QN. Okay, market provision and efficient provision of public goods. Here what happens if market are used? If we let the market operate without intervention, then public goods will generally be under provided. So, our point here is that if there is no regulation, if externality is not internalized, then the public goods will be under provided by the market. To see this most simply, assume we have a society with n identical individuals. So, let us visualize a society, a small localities where there are n number of members of the society and all are identical. Each individual can consume two products, one a rival product, say conventional product, which is rival as well as excludable private product P, and another non rival product, that is non excludable also and known as G. So, there are two kinds of product being produced and consumed by the society. One is P, that is private product, and other is the G, that is government or public product. To identify things, public goods is non excludable in consumption, but it is of course excludable in production, as I already told you that all products are excludable and rival in production. Now, let me take utility of the consumer. Assume that each person has income Y. So, income here, income is Y, and there are two products, private good is P and public good is G. So, we have two goods, private goods and public goods, and consumer have a limited income Y, which can be spent on these two products. So, utility will be maximized subject to the availability of two products P and G and given the income to be spent on these two products. So, G, as we know, is a public good, is out of the control of the individual, and but individual can also generate some quantity of public goods by themselves. And if we divide this G into two categories, G is the total public goods, one is G bar and plus small g. So, G bar is the amount of the public goods which are provided by others, and small g is the quantity of public goods which is created by the individual under consideration. So, therefore, aggregate G is equal to G bar plus small g. If individual provides G, of course, if this G is provided, then a part of the income Y will be spent on G. So, less will be the P. So, less will be the quantity of P. So, quantity of P will reduce when a part of the income is diverted towards creating of the G. So, therefore, now this equation 1, for example, can be converted into equation 2. Utility is U Y minus G, because now a part of the income will be spent on consumption or creation of small g, and G bar plus G. So, G bar plus G means aggregate public goods, and Y minus G means the amount of the money which is spent on P now. Now, the consumer must decide how much G to choose, how much small g to choose to consume. The choice depend upon how much the other public good is being provided by others. Here I can explain it with the help of indifference curve, where we are taking two goods, one is small g and other is the g bar, and g are with the fixed income y. So, we have small g, that is the public goods created by the individual, we have g bar provided by others, and we have fixed income. So, by all these things we can now draw the indifference curves. So, we have a map of indifference curve u1, u0, u1, u2, u3, u4, and here higher the indifference curve, higher will be the level of satisfaction, and on vertical axis we are measuring g bar, that is public goods created by others, and on horizontal axis we are measuring small g, that is the private part of the public goods, means how much individual is creating public goods by spending some part of the income y. So, in this case actually it is very interesting to look at this graph, that if others are providing the public goods, then you do not need to provide your own public good. So, therefore, there is some sort of inverse relationship between small g and g bar, capital G bar, means if the g bar increases you will reduce your small g. So, that is called best response line. So, best response line is this is the best response line. This clearly shows that consumer individual consumer or individual person will create less small g if others are creating capital G bar, or if public goods are created, you do not need to spend more money on creating your own small part of the small g or public goods. So, in that case the best response line is showing a negative slope, but at the same time, as I already told you, that since society is identical, then g bar will be equal to n minus 1 into small g, means since n is the number of identical members and individual person is creating small g. So, n minus 1 multiplied by g will be the g bar, since all members of the society are identical. Now, this n minus 1 g is a straight line, you can see here, this is a straight line of the slope is n minus 1, and this straight line is intersecting the best response line at point n, and it is tangent to the point E at indifference curve u2. So, here there are two important point here, at the point where the n minus 1 slope line is intersecting the best response line at the point n, market provision is determined. So, market provision for public goods and private goods is small this part g n and g bar, and that is because that is at the lower level of public goods g bar as well as small g, because people feel that if others are providing the public goods and since product is non rival, you do not need to create their own g. So, obviously, if they are not cooperating each others, then the market will under provide such kind of product. But if everybody cooperate each others and then they create small g's, then aggregate public goods will increase, and this is clearly indicated at point E. So, at point E is the equilibrium point, and at this point you can see the G star, small g star is the higher quantity of small g created by the individual than the previous quantity that is provided by the market when there is no cooperation among them, and G bar star is also greater than G bar. This clearly indicate that if all cooperate each others, then the efficient solution will be at higher level of public goods, and if they are not cooperating each others, then the solution will be at the lower level of output. So, in conclusion we can say that market provision is lower than the efficient provision, and that is why we can conclude. I discuss here two points. One is that the market provision of public good is lesser than the efficient provision, and this can be shown at two different points on the indifference curve. At point N, when the individuals in the society are not cooperating each others, then the best response line will intersect the n minus 1 slope line at point N, and at point N the market provision is determined which is lesser than that is determined at point E, where the slope of n minus 1 line is tangent to a higher indifference curve or higher welfare curve. So, in that sense we can conclude that market under provide public goods and market provision is lesser than the optimum provision of public goods. In next lecture I will explain or continue from this point, and I will explain externalities and then how to model externalities, to internalize the externalities, to know the efficient allocation of goods with or without externalities in the next lecture. Thank you very much.